Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Success Life Live. My name is Eric Reed. We gather here each and every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern to start to get our mindset right, to start to begin to build that thinking that we need to have success. And my goal by being here each and every morning is to add some kind of value to you, to give you a thought, to give you an idea, to give you some motivation and inspiration to get you moving in the right direction with the right thoughts today. So I'm glad you took time to join me. Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Todd. I need to reconnect with you. You've been on my list this week. Good morning, Elizabeth. I hope you are doing well. So much going on. Don't forget, tonight is Author Talk. Let me get that over where you can see it. It is with Barbara Gustafson, or Barbara Valentine Gustafson. Permission to Be Bold. It's a wonderful book. I'm going to sort of give you a quick sneak peek while everybody jumps in and says good morning and says hello. Good morning, Kathy. And so she has the Bold Manifesto, and it's on page 143. And it starts with, it's time to unleash your inner bold. It's time to live life with courage. Start by giving yourself permission. Permission to step boldly. Permission to be you. And it goes on, and we'll go over the rest of it tonight at 7 o'clock with Barbara on the phone, on the line here at Author Talk. So just tune in here tonight at 7 o'clock for Author Talk with Barbara Valentine Gustafson. Gustafson. I got to figure out if the B or the F sound. You know those Norwegian names. And then Friday, we have Fun Friend Friday with Donna Rice. Lots going on here in the Success Life Experience Tribe Hub thing. So I appreciate you guys joining and jumping in each and every morning as we do this thing. I gotta give a shout out this morning because that idea of everything seems impossible until it's done. You know, I had posted that and somebody had sent to me, you know who said that? And so I had to Google it because it's been just in my head. You know, everything seems impossible until it's done. I had just heard that and it sticks in my brain. And so when I Googled it, they give credit to Nelson Mandela and 5 or 6 other people. I'm going to give credit to you for it. That is now, you own that quote. It belongs to you. Nothing is impossible until it's done. And why that seems so important as we begin this building, this business building, this growth mindset, this change mindset, this transformation thinking, is that everybody around us is going, oh, that's impossible. Oh, that's just impossible. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. Good morning, Dr. Tanya Woe. Good morning, El. How many times have we said something and somebody's like, oh, that's impossible? And we're like, oh, okay. And we shut down. We stop. We back away from a dream. We back away from an idea. How many times has somebody gone, well, that's just impossible? I mean, I don't know how you're ever going to get that done. I mean, come on, really? I mean, somebody like you, somebody with your education, somebody with your background, somebody with your experience, somebody with your resources, that's impossible. That's impossible. Now, one of the fun things about being an older dad with a younger kid, my son is turning 10 this week, is I'll tell him something about my past, and he'll be like, oh, that's impossible. Like, I'll explain how in the old days, the old people days, we used to have to get up and literally touch the TV to make the dial, to like change the channel. And he'll go, that's impossible. Like, where would you touch it? Like, there's no buttons on the TV. Like, he could not see the vision of a TV with a dial because he had grown up in an experience that didn't exist. So everything of my experience, he was saying, oh, that's impossible. You just don't crazy. I was laughing because it's like, no, it's possible because I experienced it, son. Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it's not possible. Well, the same thing is true with our dreams and our desires and our goals and our hopes and the things we're trying to create in our lives and in our families and in our finances and in our business. Just because you haven't seen it yet doesn't mean it's not possible. Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it's not possible. It's just from the perspective of where you stand right now today, it may feel impossible. It may seem impossible. But that doesn't mean that's the truth. It simply means that you haven't experienced it or grown closer to it to understand it. So if I took my son to, old-timey, maybe, as he calls it, the garbage store, I call it the Goodwill, or my favorite place on earth, and found one of those old TVs with the dials, he's like, oh, okay, so now I can see what you're talking about. That TV wouldn't even need to be plugged in. That TV wouldn't even need to be connected to an antenna, so to speak, for him to start to get the idea that, wait a minute, I guess it could be possible that a TV might have dials. And then you said this next thing about when you turn the dials, it changed the channels. Yeah. So if we plugged it in, could we see? Yeah. Through the experience, he would begin to gain more awareness that what he used to think was impossible became possible. So if you're sitting at the beginning of a goal, the beginning of a change, the beginning of a business, the beginning of a transformation in your life, and everybody around you is saying, it's impossible. Never going to happen. Impossible, impossible, impossible. I want you to just go, look, just because you haven't experienced it or been near the experience does not mean it's impossible. It just means you lack the awareness of the possibility of it happening. History is filled with impossible moments that became possible, that have become ordinary. Your life can be filled with what used to be impossible, becoming possible, becoming ordinary for you. There's probably somebody that's like, it's impossible for me to lose this weight. You know what? It is possible, and then being a healthier, slimmer, trimmer you is going to become ordinary. It's impossible for me to get out of debt will become possible for you to get out of debt, which will become ordinary for you to live debt-free. It is impossible for me to write a book will become possible to be writing the book, for you to become ordinary and writing book after successful book after successful book. What used to look impossible to us, reaching the moon, now seems possible, almost has become ordinary as we head towards Mars. What looked impossible for a man to cross the 4-minute mile mark has now become possible, is almost ordinary that at the Olympics, if somebody doesn't come under that time, we think the world is off balance. Throughout history, in other people's lives, in other people's experiences, we have seen the impossible become the possible that becomes their ordinary. When the credit was given to the quote, "the impossible seems impossible until it's done," was to Nelson Mandela, I thought, there was a time in Soweto and in South Africa that people thought a black man being able to ride on a bus with a white man would be impossible. And then it started to become possible. And now throughout all of areas of South Africa, it seems quite ordinary to sit at the same table as a black man and a white man. So what in your life have you allowed to become impossible and you stopped there? You stood the ground. You said, can't go no further, can't be no bigger, it's just going to have to stay as impossible. I want you to dig that up, pull it out, reframe it, refocus it, whatever you want to call it, and then say, wait a minute, I'm going to make the impossible possible until it becomes ordinary in my life. And then I will find a new impossible to become possible, to become new ordinary. And I'll continue to grow and move in that direction. Because that is who I am. That's what I desire to create in my life. That's the success I seek. All right? You guys, the impossible is possible. And it's happening all around us. It's happening to us and through us in a lot of ways. You know, I can go through my life and I can look at moments that now seem very ordinary, that I remember the echoes of people, including myself, saying it would be impossible. It'd be impossible to live outside the country. Really? Seems possible and ordinary to me now. It'd be impossible for you to adopt kids. Really? I got 2 of them now. Seems kind of ordinary, our lives. There are so many things that I've challenged myself to turn impossible into possible till they became ordinary. I'm challenging you today to look at what you're starting to call impossible and say, whoa, it's possible, and soon it will be ordinary to me. All right? Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Elizabeth. I saw so many of you guys jump in here on Facebook Live. I appreciate you guys being in the room. I always try and give a shout out to you, and if I miss it, please understand I do see and I appreciate you. And I love when I get to see a share or a comment later in the day, Impossible equals I am possible. And that was actually what I put down. You cheated my sheet, Greg. It's over there. My I am statement for today was I am possible. And as I thought about that, I thought, of all of the things in the universe that had to randomly come together to create me, to create this moment, to create this experience of us being able to interact live in real time, internationally, would have seemed impossible when I was 5 or 6, before I was born. The idea that I am possible, the very fact that I am possible, and my existence and my life and my journey would seem impossible to others is ordinary to me, helped reestablish that idea that when other people tell me it's impossible, they're like my son when I talk about TVs with dials that you had to change and there was only 3 stations unless you happened to have PBS, and then you got the 4th one. Sometimes you could sneak in a 5th. And all of that, he just kept looking and shaking his head saying, it's just not possible. That's just so unreal. I was like, no, you never lived that experience. You never saw that firsthand. You're not connected to it, but I could take you back and show it to you. And then you would be able to say, well, I guess I was wrong. The impossible was possible, and it seems kind of ordinary now. That's what I want you guys to get today. The impossible is completely possible. And in time, it will seem ordinary to you, and you'll be looking for more and bigger impossible challenges to take on. All right? Well, I'm glad you joined me for this morning's Success Coaching Live. I hope you'll take a minute, drop a comment, drop a note, drop a hello in the section below, and then share this out. And when I say share this out, this isn't about, Eric wants 5,000 people following him. What I've learned over time, and it's so funny because I'll get a Facebook message or a direct message or whatever, and somebody will say, oh, I really enjoyed what you said here. And I'm like, okay, that was like 3 months ago, 2 months ago, a week ago. I don't even know how it's like somewhere, somehow, randomly, somebody will find something and they'll say, that was really important. I needed to hear that today. And I'll think, wow, I just put that content out there and I maybe saw the 4, the 5, the 10, the 20 people online, and I thought that's all the bigger the impact. And then they started sharing it, and then they started sharing it, or it sat in somebody's archive and Facebook feed for a while, or YouTube channel or whatever, and it impacted somebody. And so to that lesson, I've learned that nothing is done just once, that it continues to be done over and over and echo and echo. And that's why I've done now 700, and I've lost count. We're going to just call it 700 plus Facebook Lives like this, is to be able to add something to your life every day, to give you something to help you grow, to give you some place to anchor your success to, so that you can begin to live the impossible life and make it possible, and then turn it into ordinary. So I appreciate you for joining me on the journey and the experience. If I can help you in any way, just connect to me. Just direct connect to me is probably the easiest. Don't forget to head over to ericgreed.com/subscribe to get on the newsletter. I hate calling it a newsletter because it's got a coaching tip and some other information about upcoming interviews and podcasts and appearances and things like that. So I always try and make sure I pack in at least one good coaching tip so that you can have something as a resource to help grow and guide you. And you can get that over at ericgreed.com/subscribe. And it'll show up in your inbox on Tuesday morning, and maybe a couple times in between if there's something really of value I think you need to know about. All right, well, I will see you tonight. Again, it's 7 p.m. for Author Talk. I feel like the book should go this way. Permission to Live Bold. It's going to be a lot of fun. So until then, go out, make your life a success today. It is yours, and you are worthy of it. Bye-bye, everybody.